had a fear about this recounting of the famous nativity narrative. According to Habib, they assumed their American audience would dislike the overt religious references. They also expected that the audience would be confused by the jazz-heavy score of the special, something executives also misjudged. At Christian Headlines, Chuck Colson succinctly describes the lasting appeal and charm of A Charlie Brown Christmas, which succeeded where so many thought it would fail. He said, "I'm guessing it's no coincidence that out of all the Christmas specials that claim to tell us about the true meaning of Christmas, this little cartoon is the one that everyone remembers and watches over and over again. The one that really gets the meaning." There are so many things to recommend this show, not least of which is its gentle skewing of the commercialism that surrounds our modern ideas of Christmas. It's not heavy-handed, it's not an altar call, and it's not sentimental or sappy in the least. It's just a straightforward sharing of the gospel as a direct response to the emptiness, the frustration, and despair that are all that commercialism can provide. It demonstrates what truly brings hope to the hopeless, not just at this time of year, but all year around. And it's a beautiful example of the power of Christ to infiltrate and transform Scripture and culture. Jason Sorowski wrote this about what he observed about A Charlie Brown Christmas. He said, "I was in the first grade back when they still performed Christmas pageants in schools. Less than 50 years ago, but still a very long time ago. And our class performed a version of the Charlie Brown Christmas. Since I was kind of a bookworm and already had a blue blanket, I was chosen to play the part of Linus. As Linus, I memorized Luke chapter 2, verses 8 through 14. And that scripture has been hidden in my heart ever since. But while working so diligently to learn those lines, there's one important thing that I didn't notice then and didn't notice until now. Right in the middle of speaking, Linus drops his blanket. Now, Charlie Brown is best known for his uniquely striped shirt, and Linus is most associated with his ever-present security blanket. Throughout the story of Peanuts, Lucy, Snoopy, Sally, and all the others work to no avail to separate Linus from his blanket. And even though his security blanket remains a major source of ridicule for the otherwise mature and thoughtful Linus, he simply refuses to give it up. Until this moment, when he simply drops it. In that climactic scene when Linus shares what Christmas is all about, he drops his security blanket, and I'm now convinced that it was intentional. Most telling is the specific moment that he drops it, when he utters the words, "Fear not." Looking at it now, it's pretty clear what Charles Schulz was saying, and it's so simple that it's brilliant. The birth of Jesus separates us from our fears. The birth of Jesus frees us from the habits that we're unable or unwilling to break ourselves. The birth of Jesus allows us to simply drop the false security that we've been grasping so tightly to and learn to trust and cling to Him instead. Today's world can be a pretty scary place, and most of us find ourselves grasping on something temporal for security, whatever that thing may be. Essentially, we live in a world in which it's very difficult for us not to fear not. But in the midst of fear and insecurity, this simple cartoon image from 1965 continues to live on as an inspiration for us to seek true peace and true security in the one place it has always been can always still be found. And right after that epic blanket-dropping recitation of Scripture, Linus, in response to Charlie Brown's quest for his meaning, he picks the blanket back up. Now I thought, isn't that kind of anticlimactic? Why would Linus pick up that old security blanket after so boldly proclaiming an end to fear? Why does he leave the stage with that security blanket still in his hand? Well, we must first realize that we all carry that same blanket. Just like Linus, we might stand tall in a moment of faith and conviction, a moment when Scripture hidden in our heart comes to life, and all else is flung aside as we experience and proclaim the true freedom and security that only Jesus can give. But at some point, out of habit, we reach down and we pick that thing right back up again. Faith, while powerful, is also delicate. Linus clearly knows the truth and clearly proclaims the truth. The knowledge is there, the wisdom is there, the passion is there. So why does he pick it back up? I think the answer is pretty clear. It's because we all do the same thing. We know, we feel, we proclaim, and yet we gaze in the mirror one morning to find that tattered old blanket draped over our shoulder yet again. And we realize that we have become so used to it being there that we hardly even notice it. But that's not where the blanket story ends. At the end of the show, the Peanuts gang are not just singing, but clearly and unquestionably singing in worship. Even the musical style at this point is different from anything else heard previously. Now, the obvious song choice here could have been "O Christmas Tree," the notes which have already been playing gently in the background. But the focus is no longer on that tree. The focus has become bigger than the tree. The focus is Jesus. With this new focus, the kids instead slide effortlessly into "Hark the Herald Angels Sing," glory to the newborn King. And what we are now witnessing is essentially an impromptu worship service. But before any of this happens, Linus parts with that blanket yet again. And this time lays it down for the good at the base of that beautiful Christmas tree. Just as we should strive to not just lay our blankets down just anywhere, but leave it forever behind at the foot of that cross, for our own good, for the good of others. Linus and friends have moved from speaking the truth and hearing the truth into a deeper place in worship, where they finally respond to the truth. Much like those shepherds who were instructed to fear not so very long ago. It is here at the end of the show that Linus lays that blanket down yet again. And this time, he doesn't look back. Amen.